If HuffPost Live were a game show, would you choose what's in my pocket, or would you rather know what's behind door number 3? For over 50 years, excited fans have been able to dress up and barter their way to tons of cash and fun prizes on Let's Make a Deal. Today with us, we have iconic game show host and co-creator of the hit show, Monty Hall. Monty, it's so great to have you here.
Lovely being here.
I'm a big fan. Our viewers are big fans. We have a comment already. No Whammies 10. My dad was on your show, The Joke's on Us, back in 1981 in Toronto. He didn't win, but the consolation prize back in 1981 was $50 at a local restaurant. Good times.
He didn't win? Her dad was on the show and didn't win?
Yeah.
Well, let's send him a car.
Oh, I love that. We should just have it at HuffPost Live. Let's Make a Deal throwback.
Absolutely.
Can you believe it's been 50 years? Did you think the show was really going to last that long?
Well, of course, when you try to sell a show at the beginning, you hope to get it on the air. And once it's on the air, you hope it'll last 13 weeks. And, of course, 50 years becomes historical.
Well, we have some pictures of you at the 50th anniversary taping, which are just magnificent. It's you and it's the new host, Wayne Brady, and you guys are just having a great time. What was that like? What was the emotion in the room?
Well, it was very emotional because I introduced on the set that day, the remaining people who still had some kind of a history with the show. My secretary for many, many years, the production assistant, director's assistant, and of course the model. Carol Merrill, who was the model at the very beginning, 50 years ago, flew in from Hawaii to appear on that show. That was exciting.
That's incredible. Well, how did the show originally come about? I know you mentioned when you come up with the show idea, you just hope it'll make it on air in the first place. Where were you when you came up with the idea for Let's Make a Deal?
Here in Hollywood. I had sold my first show to NBC at that time, and I was talking with my producer about a show idea that I'd had back in Canada years and years before. And we tried to test. Now, how do you test a show like Let's Make a Deal? I mean, there are no you can't bring cars on the set and zonks on the set. So we did little pieces of paper and had people use their imagination. But everywhere we played it, people got into the swim very quickly. They loved what they saw. And everywhere we tested it, it was very exciting. Then we got to the studios, got to the major networks who made a pilot. And at first, they didn't even pick it up. We waited about 9 months before it was picked up finally. Went on the air in a time spot that was death. Nobody wanted that time spot. And they said, well, if you want it, you can have it. But we warn you, 5 shows in a row, we've been out for 13 weeks and out. We said, we'll take it. And history.
Absolutely history, and it's known and beloved by people who not just love game shows, but love all aspects of Let's Make a Deal, which make it so special. One of the things many people love about it, including myself, is a costume aspect. Was that always part of the plan?
No, you see, when we started the show, people dressed like I'm dressed and came on the show, but in about the second week, a lady came with a sign because she saw me picking people at random. So she came with a sign, and the sign said, roses are red, violets are blue, I came here to deal with you. So I read the sign, and I picked her as a contestant. The next week, everybody had a sign. And then came the funny hats and the costumes. And I remember the network called us in and said, what are you going to do? There's 500 people outside waiting to get on the show, and it looks like Halloween. And we said, I don't do nothing. It's great. This is television. It's very pictorial. And we kept it.
And one of the things you might not know, but I have a 20-month-old, and you have a huge fan base with the preschool crowd who call it the costume show.
The costume show. Well, of course, we didn't make it a costume show because people thought if I dress in a costume, he'll pick me because of my costume. No, that wasn't it. We picked people, a cross-section of America. The fact that they were wearing costumes just added to the flavor.
And you had so many unusual elements, not only the doors, but also the zonks. That was something.
We created the Zonk, was something new for television. You lose, but it was a very funny thing. It added humor to the show, and the construction of some of these things was very creative. And I always loved it because it added a distinctive flavor that when you picked the wrong thing, it wasn't a man saying you lose, it was a zonk. It was a funny thing. It was, and that was part and parcel of the show.
Well, I have to say that I understand exactly what you're saying because here I am. I actually went on Let's Make a Deal a couple of years ago, and here I am in my little artist costume. I don't quite know what it was, and I got zonked.
You got zonked?
I was zonked.
Were you picked?
I was picked. I was picked. See, I'm right there. Oh, there it is right there.
Oh, my goodness.
And that's how I met the wonderful Wayne Brady.
Yeah, Wayne's lovely.
And so you approve of him as passing the reins.
Yes.
You picked him.
Oh yes, we went through 70 people when we brought the show back on CBS. They said, "Are you going to do the show?" I said, "I'm too old to do the show. I've done it for 50 years. It's enough." So we started auditioning people, and we just couldn't find anybody that seemed to suit me or Fremantle, my partners, and so on. And then my daughter said to me, "Why don't you pick or choose and speak to Wayne Brady?" Because she liked him very much. I found that he was in Vegas doing an act. And I asked him if he'd come in to Los Angeles. We had lunch together. He said he'd like to do it. We did a pilot. The pilot was great. He went on the air, and he's great.
Oh, he's great, and people absolutely love him. What was the biggest piece of advice you gave to him?
I've said this before, and I say it again. You've got to love the people. A show like this is crazy, and people are very hyped up. They don't even know what your name is when you point your finger at them. But you've got to treat them as they're your guests. They came to a show. Make them feel good, love the people. And then you can see what happens, because even when they lose, they kiss the MC, right?
Now, they kiss the MC, and that's quite a big part of being the host, is accepting these kisses. We have a comment here from one of our wonderful community members, Holy Molly, I believe, actually. Ever had two women fight each other for your attention?
No, not that I can recall.
Well, I know you're a happily married man.
Oh, yes, for a million years.
Did she ever get jealous? Because I know that when I used to watch your reruns all the time with my big brother on Game Show Network, and there was just always the classic, they'd come up and give you a peck on the cheek.
I enjoyed it, but you'll notice one thing, that I never kissed them. They always, I was the kissee, not the kissor, right? Because if they wanted to show their affection, that was fine, but I didn't go around slobbering over the contestants.
Well, people remember you not just from Let's Make a Deal, but from other shows. We have a comment here from Weldon Mixon. I remember watching you on the CBS game show Beat the Clock. What was your experience working with Mark Goodson and Bill Todman?
Very short experience. Many, many years ago, when I started off in New York, I was offered a job to work for Goodson Todman on the production department. And I said, no, I'd rather stay being an MC. And then years and years later, they came to me and asked me to replace Bill. I think Alan Ludden took a vacation from Password, and so I started replacing shows for them. But Beat the Clock was a different thing. Beat the Clock wasn't Goodson Todman. Beat the Clock, by the time I was doing it, was owned by Dan Enright. I didn't like the show. I was happy the show wasn't picked up because there's certain things that, well, you know, on Let's Make a Deal, there's natural reactions of people being excited. But I didn't like when we were creating the excitement for them. We were scripting the for them. They fell into the act. I'd rather have a natural show. There's no script. Let's see what happens with the people. Just have fun with them.
And you're true. It's very true. Even though I wasn't in the audience when you were hosting it, I have to say that the excitement of being on Let's Make a Deal is very genuine. And with that excitement can come some awkward moments. I'm sure you entertained quite a few bizarre experiences during your time at Let's Make a Deal.
When you realize that I did about 6,000 episodes, there must have been a lot of things that happened. 5 or 6 contestants, that's 30,000 contestants. Yes, funny things happened. What? I think the most embarrassing that ever happened to me, actually a couple of things, but there was a woman from Nebraska, a grandmother from Nebraska. She looked like she was a linebacker for the Nebraska football team. And she got so excited that she grabbed me and threw me over her shoulder. Now, can you imagine, this woman was built pretty well. She picked me up and threw me over her shoulder, and I was dangling over her shoulder. That's an embarrassment when you're upside down on a show and being held by a grandmother.
How did you get down?
She dropped me.
Did you give her an option of door number 3, or did you zonk her right away?
I asked her for a Band-Aid.
Oh, my goodness.
No, I had a lot of fun with the people. I really enjoyed having fun with the people, just seeing what they are and how they react.
Do you think that it's as easy to have such good, clean fun in 2013 as it was in the 70s?
There's no difference. We just had our 50th anniversary. The people are exactly the same as they were 50 years ago. It's the whole thing about coming to a show, hoping to be selected, and having a chance to win something. And, you know, a lot of these shows have all been referred to as greed shows. But there's a big difference between greed and gambling. Because on the show, you can't have what you want. You have to make a choice. and the choice could be a bad choice, and you could risk giving up a television set for something else and end up with a Zonk. So it's a risk show, and it always plays well. I played it for charity, for organizations off the air, and you get the same reaction. I've done it I did it on a battleship in Virginia. I did it in the St. Paul Winter Carnival. I've been all over the country with doing the show, and it plays the same in every state. And
you actually got started in private situations when you were in the military as an MC. Well,
that's not when I started. No, I was at college when the ROTC, and I would march during the week, and Sundays I'd go to camp. But I got my start even before that. I started in college productions. I was an actor, and in a college production I was recruited into doing radio, and from radio, television, and so on. So I've had every aspect of show business. But the start was being an actor. My mother was an actress, and she used me in her stage plays in Winnipeg, Canada. And when I was a little boy, and I would sit at the end of the couch and I had no lines. My first show, she just sat there and be quiet. I sat there, I was quiet, and then I got a part here and a part there, and the next thing I knew, I was an actor.
Wow, well, there's certainly a very long and storied history, and starting with being the silent actor in your mommy's place. I love it.
The silent actor, right.
Well, we have some very excited individuals in our Google Hangout who can't wait to speak with you, starting with Cory Anotado and Carrion. Hi, y'all.
Hey, how you doing?
We are so happy to have you here.
Great to be here. Totally great to be here.
Cory, you're a big fan, aren't you?
I'm a huge fan. I'm a little flabbergasted. Hi, Monty. Hi.
How you doing?
I'm great. I'm doing well.
What's your question for the infamous Monty Hall?
Infamous, eh? Don't say that.
Well, why? Why?
Infamous is the opposite of famous, you know.
Well, but sort of. But I think that you're just very well known. Sorry, yeah. So the very famous Monty Hall.
When my name is on the posters in the post office, wanted, then I'll be infamous.
Okay, well, we don't want your name on those posters, but we want to hear what question you have for Monty.
The first question I had, Monty, Let's Make a Deal, when you were on, was incredibly intricate with all the decisions that each contestant could possibly make in the course of a game. How was that handled on the production end? How did you handle that as host?
Well, what you see is what you get. There's no editing.
Okay, but I mean, how did you know what to do when someone made one decision or another?
Well, I knew the layout of the show. I knew what the act was. I knew what was behind the curtains and the boxes and so on, and I led them through dialogue into making a decision. And when they made a decision, it was easy for me to reveal what their decision was. That was it. They made the decisions, and then I'd reveal it.
Okay.
But it wasn't that difficult from our point of view, but you had to be very quick behind the scenes. The stage hands had to be quick to open the doors on time and so on. And we had a pretty good team.
Great.
Christian, isn't that fascinating? It's interesting hearing it straight from Monty's mouth.
I don't know what's going on. He's there and I can hear, but I can't hear anything.
Oh, goodness. Well, you can hear me. Do you have a question that you wanted to ask Monty? Oh, well, we're going to work on your audio. In the interim, Cory, do you have another question that you wanted to ask Mr. Hall?
So many questions. So, I mean, the show's been on for about 50 years, and everyone still recognizes the show. What's the secret to Let's Make a Deal success just a half a century later?
Well, it's hard to pinpoint one thing as why it's a success, but I would suggest that one of the reasons it was a success, it was a show where anybody in America could play the game on the set or at home. You didn't have to answer questions, the encyclopedia questions. All you can do is make a decision. Do you want this? Do you want that? Do you go with this? Do you want that? And everybody could play. And as you noticed on the show, that we had a cross-section of America. We were the first show on television that used old people as well as young people, fat people as well as skinny people, people of all colors, people of all sizes. We were the first television show that really was a cross-section of America. And that's what made it popular, because anybody could think, I could be on that show. And they were.
Well, and speaking of, this is the show that you're most known for. Have you ever wanted to be a contestant yourself on another show?
No, but I'll tell you a secret. When I was in college in Winnipeg, Canada, I got on a radio show, and I think I was going for $2 silver or something like that. And they asked me a question, and every time I saw the show, I answered every question. Now I'm on the show, they asked me a question, and I fumbled, I didn't get it. That was embarrassing.
Well, it certainly, I'm sure it helped you to understand where people are coming from.
And I didn't get the $2.
I'm sorry, but you got a lot more than that.
I think so.
In the future. Christian, I think we can hear you now. Hi.
I hope you can hear me. Hi.
Hi.
Good evening.
Hi,
Monty Hall.
Monty just said hi right to you.
That's incredible. I was talking before we went on, and I said, what a surreal experience it is to be able to talk to somebody on a computer that you grew up watching, and it's just an absolute honor and a pleasure. This is incredible. Something? Thank you.
Yeah, it
really is.
We've seen a lot of things happen over the 50 years we've been on the air. But, you know, basically, when you asked me the question before, people come to the show, and they're exactly the way they were 50 years ago. People love to participate in the show. They love to try to win, and they love to win. And I don't care whether you're playing bingo or buying a raffle. Everybody likes to play something and win something. And Let's Make a Deal gives you an opportunity, if you're on the show, to get prizes that you probably could never get before. A car, a trip around the world, so on. So it's very exciting.
Well, Christian likes to play a lot of things, as we can see from your fabulous background. We see all of your games, and that's very impressive. What question do you have for Monty Hall?
I mean, like Cory, so many, but Monty, one of the reasons I admire you as a broadcaster is your ability to ad-lib. Throughout the run of Let's Make a Deal, you've had to sort of verbally weave your way through a lot of different situations. What I was wondering is there one moment from the show that you particularly remember because of the way you handled it, or something you said, or something that was said?
Well, you know, there's no script, as you know, on Let's Make a Deal, so you're ad-libbing the entire show. You're making the script as you go along. You're making the dialogue as you go along. I don't recall anything very embarrassing, except there was one time when I was doing the quickie deals at the end of the show, and I ran out of things to ask the people, and I saw somebody had a Chinese dress, and I said, "I'll give you $200 if you have any Chinese money on you." They didn't, and I went to a guy who has a sailor's outfit. I said, "Give me a bosun's whistle, and I'll give you $200. He didn't have it, and I'm running out of things to ask for, and there's a woman holding a doll. This is the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to me. Promise you'll never tell. She's holding the doll, and she's feeding the doll with a baby bottle. And because I'm trying to think of what I would ask her, I took the bottle out of her hands, and I said, "Show me another nipple, I'll give you $200. Well, you didn't need color television to see my face that day. The crowd went crazy. The crowd went crazy, and then I compounded the felony by saying, "I didn't mean that." And they started screaming all over again. And poor Jay Stewart had to sign off the show. He couldn't sign off the show. He was laughing so hard in the control room. And I'm just standing there with the camera right on me, embarrassed.
I have to know, did she get the $200?
I'd give her half the farm.
Well, it's moments like that that led you to receiving Lifetime Achievement Award. This is just incredible, and when you were also one of a wonderful group of recipients that year. What was it like to receive this award?
The Emmy?
Yes.
The Emmy, we said, it's coming up in June.
It's on its way, but you are aware that you are receiving. What was it like to?
There was a conference call between Hollywood and New York, and they said, "Mr. Hall, we're happy to tell you that you're going to get the Lifetime Achievement Award." And I said, "I'm glad I'm getting it during my lifetime."
And that is something. I mean, you are quite a spry man. You have a comment here from Dan Hikes 46. Monty, you look really good. You have a great career. You entertain millions of people. Is there anything you'd change?
Not a thing. I love my career, and I have a terrific wife. I've been married for 65 years. I wouldn't change that for a second. I have wonderfully talented children and 5 grandchildren. What more could a man ask for? Career, family.
You've got it all. Christian, it's amazing, 65 years of marriage. How do you make that work?
Well, there's an old saying that you make it work by just saying 2 words. Yes, dear. No, we have a wonderful relationship, and Marilyn has a great sense of humor, and she has the ability to take the thorn out of my paw.
It's an important thing.
When you're not feeling too good, she can make you feel great. And I hope I could do that for her. And we've done it for 65 years.
That's incredible. Christian, do you have one more question?
Yeah, sure. Monty, I'd like to know what your opinion is of the state of game shows today. Is there anything you enjoy in particular? Is there room for the kind of show that you were famous for bringing to American TV?
Well,
I'm
sure that there's always room for a game show on television. Like a newspaper has the front page and the editorial page and the comic strips, and there's room for game shows in the kaleidoscope of television. And the condition of the game shows today, well, there's so few of them on the air, but I think that they're well done, and I think that you continue to see them. Whether they be the version of Let's Make a Deal or a Q&A show, I don't know, but I think they'll always be there.
Well, I think that this has been such a great conversation. Guys, are you still reeling? Are you going to just take this moment and savor it for the rest of the night?
I won't sleep ever again. This has been the greatest.
I'm going to go take a warm bath after this. This is incredible.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's a pleasure for me to be here, and thanks to all the people who called in too.
Oh, and congratulations on the award. We look forward to you actually receiving it in June, but it's fun to celebrate now. And thank you all for watching. Please keep watching and checking out what's coming up next in our green rooms, because the conversation always continues here at HuffPost Live.